Hello and welcome to NatStrat Conversations. My name is Pankaj Saran and I welcome you to the first episode of the new year 2024 while wishing you a very happy new year. So today, as we begin this new year, we once again have our distinguished guest, Tilak Devasher, with us. As you know, Mr. Devasher is a noted author and expert on Pakistan and Afghanistan. If you recall, we had a conversation with him a few weeks ago on Pakistan and the crises that Pakistan faces. And we had promised you that we will be back for a supplementary session on what was left untouched and undiscussed. So we will continue that conversation. Thank you, Tilak, for joining us once again as we begin the new year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you.
I look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a bit of a recap of what we discussed last time. Basically, we had talked about the various crises facing Pakistan in terms of its economy, what happened to Imran Khan, the whole problem with Afghanistan, the TTP, the decisions on expulsion of the refugees from Pakistan back to Afghanistan, a bit about the Pakistan elections, and by the time we reached the implications for India-Pakistan relations, we had actually run out of time. So we thought we would continue what was not discussed in the next episode. The last conversations episode with Mr. Tilak Devasher actually generated a lot of interest, and I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone who commented and who watched that episode, and we really welcome your feedback and your comments, which we take very, very seriously. So I want to begin immediately by asking you about the latest flare-up in Pakistan relating to its Iran border. And this is actually dominating the headlines. So while we thought things were already bad for Pakistan, you have now a fresh front, opened up on Iran. And your thoughts on, preliminary thoughts to open the discussion on the recent events of the missile strikes and what you make out of them.
So, two things come to mind straight away. First, it is a country, it has strained relations with India, it has strained relations with Afghanistan, and now it has a problem with Iran. China is not too happy with the Uyghurs getting shelter and sanctuary in Pakistan. So all the four neighboring states of Pakistan, Pakistan has messed up its relationship big time, and it largely because of support to terrorism. That's one. Second thing that comes to mind is that neither the Pakistan air defense system nor the Iranian air defense system were able to pick up incoming missiles.
Yeah.
That's astounding.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, Osama bin Laden's raid, Pakistan said they couldn't figure it out. When we went into Balakot, they couldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
And now Iran has fired missiles and they seem to be sleeping on the job.
Yeah.
So these two things come.
Yeah.
So we can take this forward discussing why and all that.
Yeah.
But this is the immediate, initial sort of thoughts that I have.
Yeah. And this is when the Pakistani air defense system is supposed to be a very strong, robust system. That's what they claim.
Well, that seems to be the claim and the propaganda, Pak Air Force and this and that. But when you see on the ground, the air defense obviously has many loopholes.
But do you think this raises the whole issue of the problems relating to Baluchistan and the Baluchis on both sides of the border? Because you have on the one hand the Jasht-e-Adal, and on the other the Baluchistan Liberation Army and the Liberation Front, and this division of the Baluchis between Iran and Pakistan. It brings to the fore yet another fault line.
Yes. You see, if you look at it historically, the area under Iran, Sistan, Baluchistan, was at one time part of the territory of the Khan of Kalat. Then Britain wanted to sort of secure its border with Iran, so they gave away a large portion of Kalat without asking the Khan of Kalat. They demarcated the boundary and gave it to Iran, the area which is with Iran right now. Iran will sort of dispute it and say, these are the territory of Nadir Shah. So all kinds of historical baggage is there.
Yeah.
But here the issue was that the insurgency in Baluchistan has been continuing in one form or the other since 1948. In fact, how history comes full circle. Iran was the first country to recognize Pakistan. The Pakistan's second Governor General, Iskandar Mirza, is buried in Iran, though because Yahya Khan did not allow him, he was in exile in London.
Right.
Yahya Khan did not allow him to be buried in Pakistan. So he was given full state honors by Iran, and he buried over there. In the 65 and 71 wars, Iran supported Pakistan. In the 73-77 Baloch insurgency, the Shah of Iran had lent Pakistan helicopters with Iranian pilots who took out Baloch militants who were hiding in the mountains. Plus gave him a large sum of money also. Since then, and now you look, it's come full circle. And so the Iranian attack is not so much with the insurgency in Baluchistan, but they feel that the attack that took place last month, where about 80 odd people died in Kerman, and then subsequently also was done by these militants who have got sanctuary and shelter and camps in Pakistan, Baluchistan. So that's why they went in. And, and Pakistan retaliated by claiming that the BLA and they have camps over there.
Correct.
The BLA has denied that they have any camps. And I think the people also who have been killed, though Pakistan claims they've given out a list of certain BLA militants, the photographs show women and children. 9 people who have died.
Yeah. So, I mean, the point is that this is a completely avoidable flare-up between Iran and Pakistan. And it doesn't look very pretty about what's going on. Especially for, I would say, both in a different way. For Pakistan, because they were already immersed in so many problems, and to have this additional problem. And for Iran, from the point of view, the fact that it's already in the crosshairs of a potentially very risky regional conflagration. So Iran also is under pressure. And so both countries, for different reasons, are actually on the precipice of what could be an even greater disaster.
So, between Iran and Pakistan, there are several mechanisms existing to discuss and talk about issues. What Iran says is that it has brought to the attention of Pakistan evidence of these camps, and Pakistan has done nothing about them. And then, of course, very interesting that both of them have used this doctrine of preemption. Iran says that we were suspected that they are going to attack us, so to protect our sovereignty, we attacked them. And when Pakistan carried out the raid, it said we were expecting an attack, so preemption. Both have used these same kind of argument. But it is certainly, you see, the other element which nobody has been talking about much is the sectarian issue. Now, Pakistan is a Sunni majority state, but 20% is Shia. And all the Shias regard Iran as the spiritual head.
True.
So if this escalates, Pakistan could be faced with a sectarian backlash. So it has to tread very, very delicately. But I think Pakistan's calculation also was that the army in the last 1 year has taken quite a beating.
Correct.
It has gone down in popularity. So they have not been able to do anything on the TTP, which is exposing them to so many casualties. So to show to the people that the army is strong and will defend the people, they decided we must retaliate, even though knowing what the dangers could be.
And so, I think they were left with probably no choice but to retaliate. Because not retaliating may not have been an option for because of exactly the reasons that you have mentioned.
And also one other reason, if I can add, it also is sending a signal to India that just as we did it after Balakot, if you try something, we do to Iran also. So don't think you can get away with this kind of an attack because we will retaliate. So the signal they have sent out is also, you see, anything for Pakistan ultimately gets reduced to India factor.
True.
Here also they are saying India is egged on, and the totally coincidental factor that the EAM was in Iran a day before. So people are reading all kinds of conspiracy theories into it. These are totally unconnected events. But in particular, Pakistan, which thrives on conspiracies, so that's the other.
No, I think finally it boiled down to becoming a matter of national prestige and vanity for the Pakistani army, that you can't be seen to be not retaliating.
Yeah. And you're a nuclear weapons power.
Exactly.
You can't sort of.
Yeah. And I think also they calculated that today between Iran and Pakistan, the country which has actually bad relations with the United States is Iran and not Pakistan. So by attacking the territory in Iran, you are in fact ensuring, and you're quite confident that you're not on the wrong side of the Americans.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
and in fact, some people even are saying that Asim Munir was in the US recently,
exactly.
12-day visit.
Yeah.
Which
12
is
days.
12 days, which is enormous time for an army chief.
That's a huge amount of time.
To be out of the country. So whether they talked about some sort of preemptive action against Iran, I don't know.
No, but it's obviously, probably the visit is timely because of the impending election, because of a course correction by Pakistan and probably the Americans to wean the Pakistanis away from China and to bring them back into the fold, so to say, after the direction in which Imran Khan had taken the country. Very, very strong anti-American attitude. And also the post-October 7.
Yeah. And also, I think this issue of the elections would also have been discussed in the US.
Yeah.
That were the elections to be postponed. You see, where Pakistan is really constrained is that the IMF standby agreement lapses in March. They've got the second tranche of 700 million. Another 1 billion is remaining. But what happens after that? If there is no elected government in March, what are they going to do? So he must have sort of sounded out the US that what happens in some cases where postponement of elections becomes inevitable.
Correct.
What would you do? So I'm sure this would have also one of the factors that would have been discussed, and apart from other factors.
No, sure, but I mean I don't think that visit to America was related fundamentally to the Israeli crisis, the Gaza crisis, but maybe because of other considerations, the US, Pakistan.
Yeah, I think in the bilateral,
more in the bilateral
internal elections, IMF, and also maybe supply of other ammunition to Ukraine.
Yeah, possible. Because Pakistan has been kind of said to have supplied weapons to Ukraine, which I think the Russians are also aware of.
Yes.
So, anyway, so what we have here, therefore, as a result, to sum up this part of our discussion, is a flare-up of Iran-Pakistan tensions, flare-up of the whole question of Baluchistan. In your book, you've talked about the Baluchistan conundrum. So we discussed last time the whole Pashtun issue.
Yeah.
Now we are seeing in front of us the Baluch issue. So put together, clearly these don't look good for Pakistan.
You see, in the case of Baluchistan, there were two elements of the Baloch. One of those people from 48 onwards who realized that you cannot get anything from the Punjabi state. There's no point talking to them. Politically, they'll never agree. So more and more of these people went into the mountains. So we had insurgencies in 48, 58, 62, 73, 77, and this one started in 2003. They are convinced that the only way ahead is to pick up the gun and look for separation. Then there is the other class of the Baloch who believe in the political process. So they are contesting elections, forming governments, trying to be part of the political process. But both are agreed that ultimately it's a question of Baloch identity. That we will, if we are swamped over, we may even lose, become a minority in our own.
Yeah.
So both agree on that, but the paths are different.
Right.
Now, into this, the third element has come, which is the Pakistan civil society. This Baluchistan Long March, Baloch Long March, which started from Turbat somewhere in November, went to Quetta, and from Quetta it has come to Islamabad. It's been about 56 days today, or 57 days. And it's been led by women, and they have found a leader in this young lady who's a doctor, who's has been on the streets almost since she was 13. When her father was disappeared, And though he was recovered later on, subsequently he was killed. So she knows the anguish and the pain of not knowing of two people who have been picked up in Baluchistan and their young children and wives. The wife doesn't know whether she's a widow or she's still married. 14 years somebody has been missing. Children don't know whether their father is alive or not. So they are artists. So for the first time, Baloch civil society has come into its own. And in support of this long march, which is now camping in the National Press Club in Islamabad, there have been protests all over Baluchistan for the first time. Small towns and majority being led by women and children. And they have articulated their view, and which is now also getting international attention. An MP had introduced a motion in the British Parliament. The UN Human Rights Commission has also taken note of this. And gradually it is gathering steam, is gathering momentum. And the government initially tried to, strong arm them by not letting them come into Islamabad, throwing cold water to them in the middle of winter, and try to put them into buses and drive them back to Quetta. Thanks to the intervention of the court, that was foiled. And they've been allowed to sit in. But, when people send them blankets, they take away the blankets. They're not allowed to, the blankets to reach, or food and things like that. But I must say, very gutsy, very brave. As this leader, Dr. Mehrang Baloch, said, if your families are missing for the last 14 years, what more can you do to scare us? We are not going to be scared, and we are going to be here till we get a resolution of our issue. So this is the third element on the Balochistan horizon, which has come into the fore now. And I think this is a very important element, because if it ties up with a similar civil society movement on the Pashtuns, the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, because they have a similar problem. People going missing, enforced disappearances, people getting killed, not being allowed to protest. Then it's a huge problem, because, the Pakistan army does not know how to deal with the civil rights movement.
Correct.
Same thing happened in Bangladesh.
Correct.
After initial demands of Mujibur Rahman.
Correct.
So,
yeah, they were all peaceful protests.
And as the saying goes, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
So the Pakistan army knows just to.
Yeah.
So they are at a loss. So you have this Pashtuns and Baloch may come together. You have the TTP. Now you have this issue with Iran. And the Taliban is not doing anything about the TTP. And with India, we talk about it later. The situation is as it is. So all in all, it's a tough.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all entangled in a very, very vicious kind of a web, and spillovers across borders, and doesn't look good at all. I don't know whether you'd agree that the Iran-Pakistan tensions will flare up, but the fact is that the normalcy has been disrupted.
Yes. See, even I think both of them will pull back from the brink.
Yes.
I don't think Iran will retaliate further, because the Baloch have been killed, not a civilian population, not Shias, not,
Correct.
What Iran thinks. So they may not retaliate. You never know. It can happen. But even if they come back to the brotherly kind of relationship, the damage has been done.
Has been done.
A
Absolutely.
very serious damage. I don't think so. Either will be able to trust. Especially Pakistan will not be able to trust
Absolutely.
Iran. That if they can do this, despite having mechanisms in place.
And the worst thing could be if Iran were to suspect, or sections in the Iranian leadership were to assess that if any of Pakistan's actions against Iran are being done at the instance of the Americans,
Absolutely.
then the tensions between Iran and Pakistan will completely go out of control.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's no, even the slightest hint that this has been
that
sponsored.
Pakistan is acting on behalf or at the behest
of the
or
US.
at the encouragement of the United States. That will open a new front for Iran, apart from everything else. And that would escalate.
And not only Iran, it will open a front internally. The sectarian issue will go out of hand, because, then it's a direct attack on Iran's sovereignty by Pakistan being the cat's paw of the United States.
Yes, exactly. So, thank you, Tilak. That was very, very insightful and very useful. I want to now shift a little bit and ask you about the next big thing in Pakistan, which is the election. Last time we just touched upon it. February 8th is what the Election Commission has announced as a date. Your initial thoughts on the election schedule and the parties who are, what you think of the election schedule, firstly. Secondly, the uncertainties associated with it, which political parties are in the fray, really speaking. How do you see this going forward? And then I will ask you about what is your estimation of the post-election scenarios.
So 2 or 3 things have happened since we talked last time. One is that Nawaz Sharif has got a massive relief from the Supreme Court. He had got relief from the High Court on 2 cases in which he had been convicted. But the Supreme Court judgment of 2018 was that he is disqualified for life for not being Sadiq and Amin, honest and truthful. This Supreme Court under Qazi Faiz Issa set up a 7-judge bench which overturned the decision of that Supreme Court and said no, the punishment will only be for 5 years as per the recently amended Election Act. Which means that Nawaz Sharif can now contest elections, hold public office and become Prime Minister. So the road has been absolutely cleared for him to come back into public life. The second major development has been that the Election Commission had rejected the symbol of bat for the PTI.
Correct.
They went in appeal to the Peshawar High Court. First, the Peshawar High Court suspended the Election Commission decision, then they restored it, then again they suspended it. That PTI can contest on bat. The Election Commission went in appeal to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld the decision of the Election Commission. So the PTI is no longer a party now. Their candidates cannot contest on a common symbol. Each one will have to contest as an independent. So which means that after election, they will not be bound by party discipline. They can join any other party. PTI will not be able to contest the reserved seats. The reserved seats for women and for minorities. Those go to parties.
Only political parties.
Yeah. They will not be able to contest that either.
Right.
And then Imran Khan already stands as disqualified. His election petitions were rejected. And he's in jail, convicted. So he can't contest. Some of the other leaders like Shah Mahmood Qureshi, etc., their nomination papers are also rejected.
Yes.
But on appeal, they have been restored.
Okay.
But basically, the PTI is going to face huge hurdles. Especially because they're not. So people will not know if there are 20 people contesting, who is the PTI candidate?
Correct.
Which is the symbol. Right. And the symbol then varies from constituency to constituency. So who do they vote for? And the party will have a tough time for somebody to say, look, I am the PTI candidate. Somebody else will say, no, I am the PTI candidate. So basically the PTI is under tremendous, this is what's called pre-poll rigging. The army is going to make sure that Imran Khan, A, he doesn't come back, B, the PTI does not come back in large numbers. The fear is that the youth is about 18 to 35 population, is about 44% of the electorate, 58 million. And they are, big fans of Imran Khan. If they actually go out to vote, the army will have to resort to very large-scale rigging, in each constituency or in each booth to be able to overturn that verdict. The army would rather, they will do that if push comes to shove, but they will rather do pre-poll rigging, making sure setting up a different branch party in South Punjab, different in KPK and so on.
So what you're saying is that the army simply cannot afford to have an Imran Khan return as Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
Right? So in that event, then are we already looking at the result of the election?
Yes, more or less. I mean, everybody is looking at Nawaz Sharif as the next Prime Minister. He's also sort of, getting the airs of being, because there's nobody else. You see, the PMLN at least has a very strong presence in Punjab, especially central Punjab. The PPP is limited to rural Sindh. Little bit in South Punjab, little bit in KPK. Baluchistan is up for grabs. In any case, it doesn't have too many seats.
How do you think the PPP will do in the elections?
Well, they will always do well in rural Sindh. The urban Sindh has always been a bastion of the MQM earlier. Last time, because of manipulation, PTI got a lot of seats. But this time, they will be contested.
But they don't have that kind of public face that the PML has in Nawaz Sharif.
No,
right?
Bilawal has been declared
Yes, but
as
he
the
doesn't have the same charisma or the
yeah.
leader.
Also, he's young. You know, he needs to. He's a long way to go. He's like Mariam Nawaz. You know, the similar kind of a thing. Mariam Nawaz at least is more charismatic. You know, she has a connect with people.
Have the Americans, like in the Bangladesh case, where they were very critical and kind of threatening Bangladesh with the use of the visa as an instrument of kind of policy, in the Pakistani case, have the Americans pronounced anything publicly about the
No,
election
they
and
say
the
they will not
process?
interfere. Whoever the people decide, they will vote.
So that's a bit of double
Oh,
standard.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The way they went hammer and tongs in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
as compared to their sort of hands off Pakistan.
So in that case, are you seeing with a, let's say, a putative Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif trying to and getting friendly with the United States on the one hand, and we will come to it, and India on the other? Do you see this kind of a emergence of some kind of a closer relationship between Nawaz Sharif-led Pakistan, the United States, and India?
If you let's talk about Pakistan, US. Pakistan really has nothing to offer to the US. Earlier, they could leverage their geography. When the United States needed it against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan or in the War of Terror. Today, Pakistan is a basket case. You know, it's going around with a begging bowl all over.
But still, the Americans would like to wean Pakistan away from China.
Yeah. So for that,
I mean, in the medium term.
Yes, but they don't have to do too much to do that.
Yeah. True.
Just keep them afloat.
Correct.
The IMF, you know, the ventilator and things like that.
I mean,
Can't be the kind of relationship it was there earlier.
Yeah.
You know, major non-NATO. It's still a major non-NATO ally. That hasn't been withdrawn. But, you know, it doesn't have that kind of connect. Whether it's on trade, whether it's on health, education,
Yeah.
you know, things like this, it's not really on the technology. It doesn't have anything. Now, when you look at Pak India, Nawaz Sharif has made some noises, but I don't think anybody in India is really spending any time on Pakistan. At least not till the elections. And that also, the line which was carved on the rock by Imran Khan was that unless and until India walks back on 5th August 2019 changes in Kashmir, in Article 370 and all that, we'll have no conversation.
Yeah.
And they withdrew the High Commissioner of the Law.
Yeah, true.
Now, when even the Indian Supreme Court has supported what was done, where is the question of India walking back?
Yeah. No, that I think is a non-starter.
Yeah.
But what strikes me is basically three things. You know, one is from the Indian side. I don't know whether you agree, but there has definitely been a distinct absence of official rhetoric in India about Pakistan for the last in the recent past. Number one. Number two, the ceasefire is holding between India and Pakistan. And number three, there is a very distinct improvement in the security and economic and social situation in Kashmir. Now, all these things are there. They are facts of life. Does this suggest that there is something going on between India and Pakistan which is causing all these positive developments to take place?
I don't know, frankly, to be honest, because on the Pakistan side, you don't have an NSA.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody who can engage in a back channel.
Yeah.
Earlier, there was a coalition government. Now, there's a caretaker government. Though the caretaker government has extended its stay, it's only supposed to be for 3 months. It's going to carry on till February. But there is no interlocutor.
But the Indian official rhetoric is much less on Pakistan.
Because there hasn't been any
statements.
There hasn't been any sort of flare up or any particular issue on this. Though you find the caretaker prime minister shooting his mouth off every now and then.
Yeah, despite that, the Indian, whether you look at any of our top leaders, the statements of course, there are, but they're few and far between.
Yeah. But even otherwise, I think the Indian top leadership, even when Imran Khan was literally abusing the Prime Minister, Prime Minister never reacted.
Yeah, correct.
Neither did any of the other senior ministers.
Correct.
It was more at the MEA spokesperson's level. So, I don't know how Pakistan is going to walk back
So you were saying about how you don't see Pakistan walking back, basically. But I want to ask you about on the post-election scenario. If you were to do a bit of crystal gazing, I mean, how do you see, let's say, Prime Ministership of Nawaz Sharif approaching India? And, uh, I'm sure there will be some change between the way he approaches and the way Imran Khan approached, if for no other reason than the fact that the relationship between him and the army is going to be presumably far better than the one between Imran Khan and the army.
In the later phases, yes. So I think there are low-hanging fruits if you want to kickstart the process. Sending back high commissioners.
Yeah,
That could be a starting point. And maybe Pakistan could sort of
yeah.
take the lead. Trade is another low-hanging fruit.
But how do we benefit from trading with Pakistan?
don't.
I've always wondered.
We don't. It's just that it is a signal. Our exports, in fact, have done better in the last 3 years, if you take the figures, when trade with Pakistan was stopped.
You mean a global trade?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
It's done much better.
Sure.
So we don't really need Pakistan for trading.
Yeah.
Pakistan needs us.
Correct.
Because they are buying very expensive stuff from other parts of the world. So for them, for us, the only thing will be that it's a political signal. That, trade, and then if they have transit trade with Afghanistan, or, things like
I
that.
think, yeah, exactly. I mean, what you actually need from Pakistan is the connectivity through Pakistan for Afghanistan. Although there also we have been trying to find alternatives.
Yes.
But, when you look at the trade basket, I actually am not able to readily see. The only benefit I can see is that if we open up the trade and we begin to export a lot of stuff to Pakistan, that means our trade and exports might grow. But I don't see what we can import from Pakistan.
Yeah. And also, compared to our global trade, Pakistan's capacity today to import is very limited because of the foreign exchange cuts.
That's the other thing. They don't have the foreign exchange.
Yeah. So it's very limited. Despite this, pharmaceuticals are coming to Pakistan because they don't produce their own. But they're all coming via Dubai. Even then, they're cheaper than from anywhere else. So a lot of these things can go directly. I think more it'll be a political signal. So these 2-3 things could set the stage. And this time, I think, like General Bajwa, the previous army chief, was on board. He was talking about geoeconomics. Let's see how Asim Munir... And I'm sure this is one of the things that Nawaz Sharif would have discussed. That if I come back as Prime Minister, we will need to have a relationship with India. He's been on record that with the neighbors, we have to improve our relationship. China has been telling them the same thing, that you can't keep on, because they're more worried about what happens to CPEC. They're worried about the political stability in Pakistan. So they will not mind trade relationship between India and Pakistan.
Yeah, I think right now, because the stakes are so high in terms of salvaging the economy, building up some kind of a relationship with the Western world, basically to keep the IMF and World Bank on your side. They will need the Americans. But also, like I told you, I mean, my impression is that if this time around, this will be his 4th term, I think, Nawaz Sharif as Prime Minister. If this time, at least in the initial period, the army and Nawaz Sharif are on the same side when it comes to the India file, it might lead to a more kind of a coherent policy towards India.
I think so, provided they find some language or some way to backtrack from the August 5th, 2019 line laid down by Imran Khan.
I think they will, because, once the leadership changes, it'll be politically easier for him to at least dissociate a little bit and nuance the Imran Khan line.
Yeah. So that will be tricky. If the army is on board, they'll find it that much more easier.
Yes.
If the army because then Imran Khan or the Rump PTI or the religious party, Jamaat-e-Islami, JUF, they say you betrayed Kashmir. You're accepting the reality, the finality of abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. So they will have to find some language which be consistent with an improved relationship with India and making sure that it doesn't lead to a massive protest movement.
Yeah, within Pakistan.
within Pakistan.
Yeah, sure. Because inside Kashmir, I told you, speaking to a few Kashmiris, I mean, the change before 5th August 2019 and post 2019 in the last 4 years on the ground in Kashmir has been actually dramatic. And, this is coming across in terms of hard statistics, which is not propaganda, in terms of, stone pelting, in terms of hartals, in terms of opening of schools, of colleges, of the flow of, lakhs of tourists into Kashmir, in terms of entrepreneurs, in terms of revival of the arts and crafts and, the change in the attitude of the young kids in school and college, return of sports activities, return of cinema. All this is for real.
Yeah.
So I don't even know whether the Kashmiris themselves and the cleaning up of the political system, the banking system, the bureaucracy, all this is leading to huge changes in Kashmir. And all this is being seen as the fruits and the benefits
Of peace.
of the removal of Article 370
Yeah.
and treating Kashmir like any other part of India.
There's no denying that. But you still have incidents, for example, in Rajouri and Punch,
Yeah. Yeah.
which upset, which people say this peace is illusory. It's
Yeah.
not for real.
Right.
It can, one incident and whole apple cart can be upset. So we have to make sure that Pakistan agrees and walks the talk on zero terror.
That is, of course, a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unless and until, they have to accept that all the trading camps, they have to be dismantled.
So the life comes a bit of a full circle, right?
Yeah.
2015, Prime Minister Narendra Modi goes to attend the wedding in the family of Prime
Nawaz
Minister
Sharif.
Nawaz Sharif. And now we're in 2024. 9 years later,
Yeah.
we have the same cast of characters. And let us see what happens in 2024.
I hope that we won't have to wait for another marriage.
No, I hope not. But you see a changed Nawaz Sharif in these 9 years, a changed equation within the country.
You see, Nawaz Sharif, if you look at his record, he has always been in favor of trade with India. As a businessman, he realizes the potential of an economic dividend. So he has not been. That doesn't mean that he's going to put Kashmir in the cold storage.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But this time, if the army is on board, and he knows that the army is now going to get rid of him because of the Kashmir issue,
yeah.
he may be willing to go a step ahead.
I hope so, because, I'm sure educated Pakistanis and the elites in the strategic community must be asking, and you know this better, introspecting that where did Pakistan go wrong? I mean, after having tried for decades to bring India down and to pursue this policy of 1,000 cuts and this and that, and committing so much of their resources in this enterprise, today the trajectories of both our countries is so different that either you remain in denial or you have the maturity to do some course correction.
In fact, if you look at the Pakistan television and the various talk shows, vloggers as they call, a lot of churning. That, exactly what you said, where have we gone wrong? And why is it that India has progressed so much? Well, there's the realization you can't now catch up with India. So that story is over. They've missed that bus. But at least can they emulate India? There is so much of admiration for Prime Minister Modi, for example.
That's
that
amazing.
he is a leader
Yeah.
who is totally devoted to the betterment of the people of India. He said, a lot of people say, I wish we had somebody like him. Who could be, instead of corrupt and parking his money in London and doing all those kind of things, who's focused on developing Pakistan. So there questionings are being, especially among the youth,
Yeah.
a lot of churning is taking place. People go to cameras, what's called mood of the people kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and you hear them speak. And, there's a lot of regret that we missed the bus. Is there time for course correction? Can we do it? Or what?
Yeah. So a lot of tough decisions need to be taken economically, on the economic front, I think, primarily, and controlling and removing the muck of terror and terror finance, terror infrastructure, and, disavowing terror as an instrument vis-a-vis
Of
India.
state policy, yeah.
Of state policy.
Not only with Afghanistan, Iran, everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That could actually open the doors for the resumption of some normalcy
Yeah.
in the India-Pakistan relationship. So, do we end on an optimistic note or a pessimistic note,
I
as
would
far
be-
as the relationship is concerned?
I will be very practical. I would say that the focus for the next 6 to 8 months will be on management of relations. Just making sure that when the two new governments are there, somebody doesn't derail them.
Correct.
A terrorist incident here, something else happens, and the whole relationship is back to square one.
Correct.
So I think management of relations would be very important for the first 6 to 8 months. Still, there is stability on both sides. Governments have settled down. They appoint an interlocutor.
So, practical is a good word to describe it. Would you also add to it gradualism and incrementalism rather than any dramatic shifts?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we've tried dramatic shifts earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to be, inch by inch learning from the past.
One step at a time.
One step at a time, that because Indo-Pak relations, if you see from 47 onwards, any small incident, terrorist incident will derail it.
Sure.
And then you have a setback for 3-4 years.
Sure. Sure.
So let's not get ambitious.
Correct.
Go step by step, small steps. Let the people in Pakistan also get used to the idea. And people in India also. I mean, we have our own hawks who have been hurt
Sure.
by Pakistani betrayal all these years.
Sure. Good. So that's a very, very nice way to end this discussion. I think this will close our discussion with Tilak on Pakistan. Thank you so much, Tilak, for spending time and being with us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to listen to you. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you so much. Thank you for calling me again, Pankaj. And I enjoyed the conversation. I hope your viewers enjoy it too. Thank you
I'm
very
sure
much.
they will. They enjoyed it last time. I have no doubt they'll enjoy it this time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we really welcome your comments. NatStrat Conversations is poised to grow from strength to strength. Do subscribe to our channel, and we hope to bring you more content in the rest of 2024. Thank you very much. Namaskar.